Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tyler Reads Comic Podcast, where today I will be discussing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin, created by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and Tom Waltz. Illustrated by Ezra and Isaac Esquera and Ben Bishop, with colorist Luis Antonio Delgato. And it follows the story of the last surviving Ninja Turtle avenging his family in the dystopian future New York City controlled by the Foot Clan. And, it's a great way to start off the first episode. Who doesn't love Ninja Turtles? I love Ninja Turtles. I've been watching them since I was like 7, 6, even probably even younger than that. And now we get this more adult Ninja Turtles book that is actually a pretty good read, and you'll see why. All right, so let's get into it. Our first character we have is April O'Neil. Now she's not the young lady. She's now an old lady who has a robot arm and leg. It is now one of the leaders of the rebellion against the Foot in this dystopian New York future. And what's funny to me is that when I first was reading this comic, I really didn't put together that she had a robot arm until there was this panel where her arm was right in front of the panel, right in front of us, right in front of the reader's face, and I realized I was like, oh, this is not like a normal robot arm like you see in like Star Wars or any other science fiction like this, or like in the Terminator where the arm is has synthetic skin and they peel it off to show a robot arm. And I was like, no, no, no. This is such a bad future that she would like literally has to spray paint her arm flesh colored to like match her skin. I didn't click on that. And a lot of stuff in this I really didn't I really didn't see on first watch. And then I had to like go back and I was like, wait, does she actually really have a robot arm? Or does this character actually look like this in the design? I had to go back and forth while reading it, like stop, look at the art, go back to the other pages of the art and actually be like, oh wow, no, she did have this robot arm be flesh colored in every single panel it shows, even in the beginning, but I didn't catch in on that. We have her daughter, Casey Marie Jones, who is the daughter of both April O'Neil and Casey Jones, and after meeting the last Ronin, becomes the last Ronin student. And later in the story, she started getting mutant powers, right? She has super strength. She's almost like a Captain America-esque character in this. Not really. But yeah, she's like punching cinder blocks and stuff, doing all this really cool ninjutsu. And it's not until the end of the story you realize, oh, like, oh yeah, this character is a mutant. It's funny because you don't think much of it because it's a comic book. Characters do this weird, ridiculous thing. It's the Ninja Turtles for crying out loud. So to have this human character be able to punch cinder blocks, you don't think much of it when your main characters are Ninja Turtles. They're fighting other mutants and they eat pizza and they do karate. So you don't think much of it until they say something. And now for our villain, we have Oroku Hiroto, who's also known as the Shredder in this. He becomes the Shredder at the end, which is actually pretty cool because his Shredder design is actually like almost like Power Rangers Ultraman type outfit where it's just red and silver and it's like this like liquid metal almost like in the villain in Terminator 2 that just encoats his body and he's able to make his own weapons, which is we really haven't seen that in a Ninja Turtles villain. Usually like the Shredder is just some guy in armor who's knows ninjutsu. And even in this, he really doesn't know ninjutsu or karate or any of like the martial arts. He knows a little bit, but he uses like technology and cheap tricks to win fights and stuff. And he's not very honorable in this, because he uses cheap tricks to not only kill the turtles, but to also kill his lieutenants as well. And now we got to understand who the Ronin is, right? Out of all the four turtles, the last Ronin in this book, the last Ninja Turtle surviving, is Michelangelo. Michelangelo is the last surviving turtle. It's 16 years since his brothers have died. He's been off training, and since he's survived, he becomes much older and actually becomes much more human in appearance when he takes off his mask. He's not like the typical Michelangelo. He's a grief-stricken character, who doesn't skateboard. I don't like they don't even eat pizza in this. They don't even eat pizza in the story, which is so crazy to me. How to have a Ninja Turtles comic with no pizza and no skateboarding and no cowabungas. Like I don't even think they say cowabunga in this. I could be wrong, but I don't even think they say cowabunga in this or turtle power. They don't say anything like that. So why is this story important? The importance of this story to me is that it reunites Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird for a 5-issue miniseries set in its own universe, right? Not connected to any other Turtles continuity, which is funny because this story originally started back in like the 1980s when they first started making the comic and left away until Kevin Eastman and Tom Waltz were having a conversation and saying like, "Hey, do you have any new Turtle comics for IDW to make?" Because this story is made by IDW, who had a really stellar Ninja Turtles run, and they were like, "Let's do a Ninja Turtles story set in its own universe that's much darker and much more original to their original ideas." Because the Ninja Turtles were a lot darker than this. This book really shows how dark the Ninja Turtles were supposed to be before it became the silly cartoons we love to know now, right? And it's just great. I never expected Ninja Turtles to be dark, and I actually kind of liked it in a sense where they actually get to use their weapons. They're not just cutting down robots, because you think it's like, oh yeah, they're cutting down the Foot Clan in the shows, but I'm like, they're able to do that because they're robots. In this movie, they don't shy away from that. They know that like, hey, like this is a dark story, and this is a very mature Ninja Turtle story that's not for younger audiences. It's more for adults. And it just really highlighted my love for the Ninja Turtles themselves. Thank you all for listening. I'm Tyler Thomas, signing off.